Hi, Judy from Witchpeace Craft. Welcome to another travelling yarn adventure, my holiday in the UK. So we left Wick and we were heading to the Orkney Archipelago Islands off the north of Scotland. On the way we stopped off at John O'Groats and we went to Gills Bay to catch the car ferry over to the Orkneys. Now there wasn't a lot to see on the ride on the ferry, but things said that's because I fell asleep. The trip only takes just over an hour. On the Orkneys, we stayed in an area called Strominus and we stayed at the hotel there, which is a 100-year-old hotel, which the rooms have been renovated. We had a lovely big room with a beautiful bathroom and a nice sitting area and a view of the port. Couldn't ask for more. The only problem was the restaurant at the hotel was closed, and in that general area, a lot of food places are closed, coming towards the end of the season and having trouble keeping staff. So in that area we had a Chinese takeaway, a little bakery that sold different products, a bistro that did fish and chips certain nights of the week, and the ferry inn which did meals, which was generally booked out pretty quickly. But we did manage. We had Chinese one night, fish and chips one night, and for Father's Day, which we celebrate down under early September, I took thing to the ferry inn per the boys' request, and we had a really nice meal. So that's where we stayed. We did the touristy things on the Orkneys. Some of the things we did the Ring of Brodgar, a Neolithic henge and stone circle, not unlike Stonehenge. The Standing Stones of Stennis. These are a 5,000-year-old Neolithic monument. There are 4 stones standing. There used to be 12, I think. At these stones, there are these very woolly sheep that graze there. That's to keep the lawn down, because it would be very difficult for them to use a ride-on mower or any sort of mower that would vibrate the ground and damage the stones. The sheep are lovely and friendly, and I got to pat a sheep. And later in my trip on the Orkneys, I actually bought their wool. Went to Skara. Now, up to this point, we'd had beautiful sunny weather from 25 to 28 degrees, lovely weather. But you have to book to go to Skara, and when we booked the day we went, it was cold and windy and raining. Now, Skara is a stone-built Neolithic settlement. In the winter of 1850, a severe storm hit Scotland, causing widespread damage and over 200 deaths. In the Bay of Scale, the storm stripped the earth from a large irregular knoll known as Skara Brae. When the storm cleared, local villagers found the outline of a village consisting of several small houses without roofs. So they've excavated this over the years, and it's an historic site. And it's just amazing. I found it really interesting, even though it was windy and cold, but it was very, very interesting and worth a visit. Now, near there is Scale House. It overlooks the historic site. And this is a big old manor house that's been there for years. It's beautifully laid out with everything there from the history of the house. And there is still a laird who owns it, but he doesn't live there. We went to the Broch of Gurness. It's an Iron Age Broch village. Now, this was closed, but they'd left the gate open for tourists, and they would have done a roaring trade this day. There were a lot of people there. It was the Pict people who had this village, another village that had been unearthed by storms. But they also excavated 2 Viking women's graves. So they presume that when the Pict abandoned the village, many, many years later, the Vikings took it over and lived there. So that was just some of the things we went doing. We went in search of the Highland cow, the hairy cow, because Thing wanted to pat one, but we never saw one close enough to be able to pat. But later in our trip, he did get to pat one. And when you're driving around, I went to go to the Orkneys because of the craft trail. Now, on the craft trail map, there aren't a lot of wool shops, or there are some knitwear shops and things highlighted. There's a lot of silver, a lot of tapestry, different things, art galleries. But it is a craft trail, and when you're driving around, you come across these things. So on our trips to these many wonderful tourist sites, and I've just got to find it. I've dropped it. There was a little craft shop we stopped by. She didn't have a lot of wool. She had a lot of craft things and things for sale, but she did have a bit of wool, and I bought these two because I thought they were great colours. Now, the Scottish wool to me that I bought on the Orkneys is a little coarse and needs an undergarment. Now, what she does with these, I think, is she buys British wool cones, dyes it, and then binds them up in little cakes. That's what the lady at the shop told me. So there are about 37 grams there, and that cost me £1.80. And in this one, it's all handwritten, so I can't really tell. It just says British wool. I think it's 102 yards, and this cost me £3.60. So they were two I bought from one little shop, along with some other handmade trinkets that will become gifts. Now, we went to Kirkwell, which is a major town on the Orkneys, and has a big like high street, main street, and lots of touristy things to see. And there were a lot of craft shops listed. Now, most of the shops along there will sell wool. Won't be a moment. So a lot of them sell this particular wool, just this one wool, which is Isle of Oscary Native Orkney Fine Wool Yarn. It's hand-dyed North Ronaldsay wool from Ascari. It's 50 grams double knitting yarn, 150 meters or 132 yards, and the color is Storm Waves. Now, this can cost you anywhere between 15 to 17 pounds, depending on where you buy it. Now, I bought it from a craft shop. I should have written down the tree. I'll put it in the description below. And she also sold, the naughty word, acrylic yarns. And I saw one in there I've wanted to try. I probably could get it from Wool Warehouse, but I did like this color. And it's Stylecraft Petite Swirl. It's 80% premium acrylic, 20% wool. I really like that color. It's double knitting, a DK or 8 ply weight, 200 grams. The color is Meadow. And how many meters? Let's see if I can see how many meters. Don't think it says. Oh yeah, 550 meters and 601 yards. I've just knitted something in pure wool that I'll talk about later that I'm blocking, and I've been thinking I wouldn't mind knitting another one in this because I think it'd be lovely. She was lovely in that shop. They're all pretty lovely. But what happened was, one day we went, because we went to Kirkwell twice, I think, I can't remember if I said that. We went on a Saturday, and there was a small craft market, come whatever you. There's probably about 10 stalls inside a building, and one of them I stopped at had knitted items, and the lady was knitting. Her name was Betty, and she's a professional knitter, and we got chatting. She showed me photos of her granddaughter with their prize-winning sheep because her son breeds sheep, and she told me about all these different yarns and how I should go to the craft hub, which apparently I must have walked past. I didn't buy anything from her, but she was so lovely. So I'm contemplating, because she's a professional knitter, whether I should send her some Australian yarn from Brandigo Woolen Mills as a Christmas surprise present. Because on my whole trip, she was one of the loveliest people I have ever met. So off to the craft hub I went. Now, wait a minute, I have to get it all. Okay, the first yarn at the craft hub I bought was the Sheep at Stone of Stennis. This is their yarn in the natural state. It's not soft, but this cost me, I think it was like, I can't remember, £12.95. It's 100 grams DK Stennis wool. That's all that's on the label. £13.95. And I had to have it because I'd padded these sheep. So I bought one of those. I can dye it if I want. And Betty told me about the sheep on North Ronaldsay Island. I may have talked about them in a previous video, travel video. But these sheep have been there 100 years and they live off the seaweed. They eat seaweed. Now, apparently, Betty said the lamb, the meat, when you eat it, is a little bit salty. but their wool is unique. So here it is. I bought the 3 color skeins that they make available. These ones. Ta-da! This one is brown. This one is white. They say this one is grey, but to me it looks more beigey, camely color. So it's 100% North Ronaldsay wool, and they cost me £12.95 each, grown and spun on North Ronaldsay Island. Now, Betty said it would be a bit oily, and I think it's softer than most of the yarn. When Reed saw it and felt it, he said, yes, it's a bit oily. Now, whether I use it or not is another thing, or whether I send it to someone who would appreciate unique wool, I don't know. But I had to buy some and try it. The ladies at the craft hub were lovely, truly amazing. When I walked in, someone got up to serve me, and I spoke, and a lady from the back, because it's like shop front is wools and things they sell, and then it's open to the back, and there's all these ladies crafting there. And someone said, that's an Australian accent. Did you celebrate Wattle Day yesterday? And I laughed because my friend Christine had encouraged us to celebrate Wattle Day. While I was buying wool and looking wool, they're all shouting their opinions and what I should look at. It was just such a lovely place to be. I think it's like a co-op of women who do craft work and lessons there and own the shop. So it was good to support them, because I think the craft front of the shop is what supports the rest of the business for them. The other thing I bought there, because the color caught my eye, probably the most expensive wool I bought there, 75 grams, 300 meters of hand-dyed 100% Orkney Creative Half Craft Hub wool. And there you have it. That is the color. I don't think the label even has a color name on it. Nope, doesn't. It cost £17.50. And yes, it's not soft, but it is lovely colors. So I probably spent the most at the Creative Craft Hub. Now, 2 days of wandering around, we went to the museum, because Thing likes museums, and there's a section on the history of the island and the sheep of the island. But as we're leaving in their little souvenir shop, I found something that I would buy, because for quite a while I've been thinking, would I like to learn to drop spin? And I bought a drop spindle. Ta-da! At the museum shop. I don't spin, but I did think I might like to learn to drop spin, and I bought that. Wandering around, lots of shops, as I said, sold a bit of wool, this one, and one lady sold patterns. This cost me £4. Brodgar mitts. This is a pattern for those. I may give this to someone, because I've realised it's probably way above my knitting skill level, to someone who might be able to do it. But yes, I bought a pattern. So they're the things I bought on the Orkneys. I could have bought more at the Craft Hub, but I was leaving the Orkneys to head to the Scottish Wool Festival in Perth. So we did leave the Orkneys, head back to Wick for a night, had a lovely walk around the river there after dinner, and got up very early the next day, because on the way to the Perth Wool Festival, I wanted to stop off in Inverness. And that'll be the next video, Inverness and the Perth Wool Festival, what I bought there. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's content and learning a bit about the Orkneys. We stayed 6 days. I recommend 4 days is enough. Go on a Thursday, leave on a Tuesday, because 2 days a week, in the middle of the week, a lot of things are closed. And although I can sit and crochet and enjoy the sun, it's often best on a holiday to have, or I could have possibly gone on to Shetland, but it would have been quite a hassle and a bit of a rush. Shetland is on the bucket list for another year. So there you have it. Our trip to the Orkneys was definitely worth it. Met the most lovely people there, especially fellow Yarny people. We went to the cathedral. I didn't realize Thing was taking photos of me lighting candles, and he said he did that because I lit so many candles he thought I was going to burn the church down. Outside the church was the war memorial with some poppy yarn bombing. I took a bit of a little photo of that from my friend Ulia at Cairns Poppy on. So yeah, it was a lovely stay on the Orkneys. So until next time and my next travelling yarn adventure, stay safe, stay well, and yes, maybe you should consider learning to drop spindle, or if you do, tell me how hard it is in the comments below. Bye for now.